So I went from thinking that you're all crazy to actually thinking, okay, I'm going to try the diet. But literally within the first week, I felt such a rush of energy and so good. I thought, no, actually, I'm going to change. And I've never looked back. I felt like my brain was toxic. Walking around, I just felt like there was a cloud above me. Then I thought, I'm just going to try it. I just thought, yeah, I'll just do it. And I'm the all or nothing kind of person. I jumped in and I thought, yeah, let's go for it. And I've never looked back. Loved it. Because they seem to not like humans. Love the animals, only the animals of their choice, because none of them bugs matter, but only the animals that they think actually matter to vegans. I feel like the carnivore diet is the thorn in their side. And now that people are realizing actually you can get really healthy with meat, it's going to make them stripping the meat away much harder.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Again, once again, apologize for the voice. I've been getting choked too much in jiu-jitsu, and so my throat is a little sore. Anyway, today we have with us Rachel, and Rachel's joining us, I assume, still from the UK. Rachel, it's good to see you again. I got to meet you in person just back in, I guess it was May. So good to have you back. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's been a bit of a rush, but it's good. It's nice to be here and to meet everyone. It's been a while, actually, since I've been to a meeting. I've been slacking a little bit with the meetings.
Yeah, well, that's it. I get life happens. So I guess we'll just start a little bit with your background, who you are for people that don't know you. I've had a chance to meet you. I know a little bit about you, but go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Rachel. I'm a mum of 4. I'm going to be 40 next month, which I'm excited about. I started my journey with the Carnivore Diet just over 4 years ago. So it was in April 4 years ago. Actually, it was you, Shawn, that I found first. I was on the keto diet for 6 months, and then I come across all these crazy people that I thought were crazy, you included, that weren't eating vegetables. And I started looking into it. And the more I heard, the more it made me listen to my body and think, actually, when I just had that asparagus, something just happened. I don't feel as good as before. So I went from thinking that you're all crazy to actually thinking, okay, I'm going to try the diet. See how I get on. I'm just going to try it for 1 or 2 weeks, and then I'll go back to the keto diet, because at the time I was thinking keto was amazing. But literally within the first week, I felt such a rush of energy and so good. I thought, no, actually, I'm going to change, and I've never looked back. So something that I was trying to disprove, because I always thought the vegetables were really important and you had to have them piled really high on your plate. Then I completely changed my mind, and it turned everything upside down. Everything that I thought was right was wrong. So it's really interesting. It's been really interesting rabbit hole to go down and to experience for myself.
First of all, I didn't realize you're 40. I would have guessed you much younger than that when I met you. I thought you were probably in your late 20s, early 30s, doing something right. And you got 4 kiddos. I didn't realize that as well. Did you, what, I guess you said you had been on ketogenic diet for a period of time before doing carnivore. What was the drive to go keto at the time? Was it just health issues, weight issues? What was it? What was the impetus there?
I had a lot of health issues. Mainly, I was really big. I was about 60 pounds heavier, maybe more. I got to a point where I was happy with the way I looked, and I stopped weighing myself, because I don't always think that the scales are very healthy, actually. So I was looking into things, and actually years ago, my cousin had a brain tumor, and that's how I stumbled across the ketogenic diet, because it's meant to be really helpful with brain tumors. But unfortunately, I couldn't convince her to do it, because it was like the blind leading the blinded, because at the time I didn't know anything about the diet. I just stumbled across it. And I was looking into it more, and I was saying, I'll research it, you do it, kind of thing. But it never came to that anyway. She'd done a bit of juicing instead, unfortunately. And that was my fault as well. I've been through many health journeys throughout my life. When I was younger, growing up, my dad was a bodybuilder and he owned his own gym. So I spent a lot of time in gyms, and he used to eat really well, a lot of steak and things like that. Actually, a lot of chicken breast, which I don't advocate now. And I don't think he would advocate for that now. Yeah, so I've always wanted to be healthy, but I've tried a lot of different things that didn't really work. So I went through a juicing phase. There's someone called Jason Bell that I used to follow, and I had his books, and I would do like a juice fast for a whole month. And what I didn't put 2 and 2 together, I was going to the gym and I looked really good. So I would look like the picture of health, apart from my skin, actually, and I'll come back to that. But what I found is I was blacking out at the gym. I was getting constant injuries. Yeah, I wasn't thinking, oh, it's the diet. Because I was brainwashed at the time, thinking this is the best diet ever. And you get everything you ever need in this juicing. So I carried on with it. My skin was really bad. I had to, at the time, wear foundation all the time. I'd actually take it out with me in my bag, and I'd take concealer. I wouldn't be seen anywhere without my concealer. And I'd have to keep reapplying that because my skin was so bad at the time. And I always thought, okay, one more detox and my skin's going to be good. I'm going to feel really good. And it never happened. I did this juicing thing for a while. And then actually a bodybuilder friend of mine did me a diet plan that was carb cycling. So on the carb cycling diet plan, you have a low fat day, high carb, and then a medium day, and then you have high fat, low carb. And when I was talking to him about the diet, I was saying, oh, my favorite day is the low carb, high fat. And he was like, you're crazy. I like the carbs. And I just felt like it was just really hard to consume all this plain rice and everything like that. But that diet actually helped me recover from the issues that I had from juicing. And I told everyone at the time, I'm never going to juice again. I don't need to juice because I'm super healthy and I feel good about myself. Then I had my fourth child. And after having my fourth child, I fell into a bit of depression. And there was a bit of a journey there. And it wasn't postnatal depression or anything like that. It was just depression where my life had changed so drastically and the usual things. And I felt like my brain was toxic. Walking around, I just felt like there was a cloud above me. And it was really funny because I'd make a lot of plans at the time and then I would cancel every single one of them. So everyone that made plans with me knew I wasn't really coming. I was going to cancel. And I did. I'd cancel everything. And I was a lot bigger then. And then it got to a point when my son became around about 2 years old. I thought I had enough of this and I just want to get fit again. Because I did. The rest of my life, I've always been fit and healthy. And it was just once I had my fourth child and for a few years after that, I remained unhealthy. And I was doing a lot of going to coffee shops and drinking coffee and eating cake. And I haven't had coffee now for probably about 5 years. And I feel better for that. But yeah, so I thought I'm going to start going back to the gym. And there was a 24-hour gym down the road because I didn't want to be seen by anyone because I'd got so unhealthy. So I used to go at 4:30 in the morning, and I managed to talk my friend into coming with me as well. She's a really good friend. And she would get up super early and we would go, she'd come pick me up, we'd go to the gym. But I remember it on the odd occasion I would bump into someone that I knew and I was just absolutely mortified. And that's obviously not a nice way to live. It's not a nice way to be. So fast forward, went back on my carb cycle plan for a little while. And then I just thought, actually, I want to look back into keto. I think actually I watched The Magic Pill and that made me think, oh, fats are actually really good. And I've got to stop being scared of fats and doing all the low fat nonsense. So I started it and I felt really good. And I actually reversed a lot of my health issues that I had, like achy joints, I had dandruff, I had bad skin. The keto did really well for me for a little while. And it wasn't until actually I started watching your videos that I started thinking, oh, okay, I started really thinking and connecting with what I was eating and how it made me feel, which was really interesting. And then fast forward 6 months, then I thought I'm just going to try it. And it was the day before my daughter's birthday. I just thought, yeah, I'll just do it. And I'm the all or nothing kind of person. I jumped in and I thought, yeah, let's go for it. And I've never looked back. Loved it.
And yeah, it's quite a journey. When you said you got up 60 pounds or so heavier, at what point did you lose all the weight back? Because obviously you're not overweight at all at this point. I think most people see you say, wow, I can't believe you were overweight at any time, because I had no idea. But did carnivore help you lose some of the weight, or was it all lost in keto, or was it all in the juice fast, or where did you lose your weight at?
Yeah, I lost some with keto, which was helpful. And then I stalled and I thought I need to change it up. And that was probably what else sparked me to try the carnivore diet, because I wanted to do something different. Within the first week of doing the carnivore diet, I lost 7 pounds. And the second week, I lost another 7 pounds. And then I stopped weighing myself after that. And I just kept seeing that I was getting slimmer. And then eventually I could see my abs and I was just feeling really good about myself. And I no longer had to cancel all these plans. Actually, I was making plans and doing them and sticking by them and preferring to be out of the house and active and doing lots of lovely things instead of being in and hiding from everyone. I would never want to go back to that again. That existence wasn't very good.
So now, how long have you been doing the diet now? This has been, what, a couple of years now?
So it would have been 4 years in April. So I'm in my 5th year. And I don't actually so I'm not a zealot. If I ever started feeling ill, I would change, but I don't. I actually don't. I just feel really good. I don't eat organs, which some people find really unusual, but I don't particularly advocate for them either. I don't think it's normal to force yourself to eat something that you're not enjoying. And so actually, interestingly, when I first started the diet, for about 3 months, 2 or 3 months, I ate liver every day because I craved it and I enjoyed it. And then it got to a point where now I just can't stand it. If someone cooked me some about a year ago and I said, I don't waste food. So I'm really sorry, but I can't eat it. I just can't. So that to me is my body's way of saying I do not need those extra nutrients. I feel like I built up my nutrient stores and I don't damage my body with lots of carbs or anything like that. So I'm not depleting my body and my body isn't calling for it. So I don't need it.
Yeah, fair enough. And so you said you're not a zealot. You'll change if you need to, which I think everybody should do, quite honestly. Has there been any downsides? And I guess it sounds like it's mostly been upside. Has there been any kind of negatives or downsides with your health? Or some people, it's socially, it's awkward and things like that. But any negatives for the diet so far?
No, because I am an advocate of health and I feel like I found this way of eating and that it was really helpful to me. So I like to tell people about it. I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed. Everyone knows when I go somewhere. And I find it really easy actually to go out and eat because everywhere, unless you're silly enough to end up in a vegan restaurant, everywhere sells meat. So you can just get them to give you extra meat and take off the sides. It's never been a problem. It's actually really easy. And normally if I'm in a table full of a lot of people looking at my plate and saying, oh, I wish I had that. It looks way better than what I've got. So I get, yeah. And the funny thing was when I first started the diet, even my mum sat me down and she was like, what about your cholesterol? What about this? What about that? And luckily, because obviously I was doing a lot of research and I was looking at a lot of studies and things, I was able to put her mind at ease. Because that is the thing, is sometimes people just want to, and I'm open to talking. I can talk, debate, whatever you want to call it. I've had quite a few debates with vegans online, funny enough. And actually, I've got a big group of friends, and quite a few of those friends were vegan. So the first kind of times we went out, everyone's talking about alkaline's the best and this. And then I remember a point where we all went out for this meal and I looked around and they're all saying animal fats are best for you and you need to eat your meat and red meat's better than white meat. And I looked around and I thought, well done, Rachel, well done. Because there were so many kind of people that were just trying to say that it was no good. But I think the best way to show others is to be that example. So when we go out, when we do things, they can see that I've got a lot of energy, that my skin's vibrant, I've got a good body composition now. So all of those things are checking the boxes. And then it's hard for people to question it. I remember one meal that I went out with my friends, and the last friend of mine that was vegan was sitting at the table and she was saying, oh, I do raw till 4 and I feel amazing. And then I think I ate the most out of everyone. And then when I finished my food, people had some meat left, so I ate their meat as well. And I had a little crop top on, as I usually do. And we went out after. And my friend came over and was like, Rachel, you ate so much just then, but you're not bloated. Like, how does that happen? Because obviously the vegan diet, eating a lot of plants, you get bloated very easily. That was one of the things that I wanted to change when I changed my diet from keto to carnivore.
Yeah, because I met you in Sheffield, England, and I'm not sure, what part of the country are you from, if you don't mind sharing?
I'm from Hertfordshire. It's just outside of London. So probably no one's heard of it here, but...
Okay, so London-ish, more or less.
That's very close. So I'm in and out of London all the time. But it was interesting in Sheffield. Lots of really good talks. And I loved your talk against the vegans. That was brilliant.
Let me ask you about, because a lot of people in the U.S., I live here, so I know what's available, and UK is not too much different. But just for the people that don't know, that might be listening in the UK, how difficult is it for you to do a carnivore diet? Is it overly expensive? How does it compare to regular, kind of a mixed diet?
Yeah, I find it really easy. I find it very easy. I don't think you can put a price tag on your health either. And also, I don't have any health issues now, so I don't need to buy any medication. So I'm not spending money on that. I rarely drink alcohol, so I'm not spending money on that. I don't smoke. Everything is health conscious. And obviously, when you're on the diet, you don't have to constantly eat. When I go out with people that eat a standard diet, that's when it reminds me how lucky I am to be on this diet, because every 10 steps they're like, oh, should we get something to eat? Should we have something? And they're snacking on crisps and whatever else, and they're still hungry after that. And I'm like, give me, because I do eat quite a lot at each meal. And if I'm out for the day, I might just boil up some eggs and take them with me and just have those. I'm quite well known for eating quite a lot of eggs.
I guess I should talk into this, because I know when I was there, you were working on some like tallow-based skincare products. And so how did you get into that? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that aspect.
Yeah, so for the last probably 2 years, probably 3 years now, actually, I've been, obviously, once you go down the carnivore route, it starts making you look at other things, other products you're using. So I make my own cleaning products in the house, and then the skin products that we all use. It made me really think about all of the toxic ingredients that are in those. So then I saw that you can make your own tallow-based creams. So I started doing that. And people loved them so much that they were like, please start making them for us and we'll buy them off you. And on Instagram, I did a poll to see if anyone was interested. And I started up the company in September last year. So it's not a year old yet, but it's very popular. It's gone worldwide, which is really good. And I just ship them out all over the world, and I'm getting very good feedback. People are saying that their wrinkles are going, their skin's more plump. It's very good for anti-aging. I actually have one here, as I always do. But yeah, obviously you've seen these, Shawn.
Yep. Yeah, I brought some back from, you say you sent me home with a couple of them.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a skincare person. I guess I'm too lazy or something like that. Maybe I should get into that more. But my significant other has enjoyed it, so she's been using that. Let me ask you: you got 4 kiddos? I didn't realize that. How old are they? Are they still with you, or are they younger, older? How are the kids?
I have. Yeah, funny enough, there's a really big range of ages. So my eldest is 20, just turned 20. Then I've got an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old. So just keep me busy forever. Just throw that last one in there.
And how are the kiddos? Are you guys, they're probably eating a decent amount of meat, I would imagine, but how does that work in the house with everybody eating and stuff like that?
So unfortunately, where my eldest, she's got her own very successful business and she is still at home, but she's looking to move. And what that means is that she can buy her own foods. So she does. I've told her, because I've been doing a lot of DIY in the house, a lot of renovations. And I said, once the renovations are done, you're mine, and every meal you eat is going to be what I cook for you, because we're going to change your health around a bit. My youngest is pretty much meat-based. Most of his meals are completely carnivore. And then if we're out here, have some treats or whatever. If he's with family, then they give him other stuff that I wouldn't normally give him, even when I tell them not to, which is interesting. But it's funny because when you eat just meat, people feel like you're missing out. I think missing out on what? Because having all of these life experiences that I never would have had before. There's no way that I would have gone to that conference before if I carried on the diet before that I was doing before. I've been invited out to go to KetoCon in Texas. There's no way that I would do all these things when I was on that standard diet before that made me have brain fog. It just felt like I couldn't think properly when I was on that kind of diet, and I was tired all the time. So people think you're missing out. Actually, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, for sure. You get more life. I think some people equate excitement and enjoyment in life as how many different colored foods you can eat or something like that, that's sad if that's your sense of what life is about, because there's so much more to life than just what kind of multicolored, multi-flavored food you shove in your mouth. So as far as you said, your dad was a bodybuilder, you've always been fit. How has this diet impacted your ability to, you mentioned your body composition better, but get stronger, be leaner, exercise? Do you feel like you have good capacity to do those things?
Yes. So when I switched to the carnivore diet, so I always use my leg press as a kind of way to show if I'm increasing my strength. I find that the easiest one. So my leg press, I was doing at the time like 520 kilo plates aside for 10 reps. But then once I switched to carnivore, it just kept going up. Each week I was adding on 40 kilos, which is not a small amount of weight. And then it went up to actually 9 20-kilo plates a side. And I remember I was actually about to do my lift, and this man come running over. Oh, excuse me, do you realize that's really heavy? And I said, yeah, it's fine. This is what I do. And he was like, no, but do you realize that it's really heavy? I don't want you to hurt yourself. I was like, yeah, it's fine. And he stood back. I did my 10 reps and he come back over and he went, wow, well done. Well done. And then that was it. But I find it interesting speaking to people in the gym, because they think to be strong, you need lots of carbs, which I found the opposite. Actually, my strength went through the roof. But that was pre everything that happened over the last few years. So before all of that happened and the gyms closed down and things, I was consistent with training, and I was going sometimes twice a day, but definitely once a day, with the weekends being off. But once all that happened and the gyms closed down, there was no access to anything and things changed. My body composition hasn't really changed. I've managed to hold on to my muscle. Everything's pretty much the same. And when I go back, it doesn't take long for me to get my strength back to where it was, which is nice.
Yeah, with 920s on each side, that's 360 kilos. Yes, nearly 800 pounds. So that is quite a bit of weight. So good for you. Good strength.
But plus the 50 kilos, 55 kilos the machine weighs.
Right. So you got 400 kilos on there. So that's 150 pounds, something like 880 pounds or something like that. Let's talk about what your diet looks like. So you're on a carnivore diet. What does it look like for you?
So for me, I eat really very much intuitively. If I get up and I feel like I need a bit of extra fat, then I'll put some butter on my foods. If not, then I'll go without. And same with salt as well. I'll salt to taste. So when I wake up, like this morning, last night I made some short ribs and I seared those, and then I cooked them for 3-4 hours in water. And I got them out this morning to warm up and eat. And they just fell off the bone. It was just amazing. One of the best breakfasts I've had in a while. But quite often I'll get up and I have eggs for breakfast. And I worked out that actually, if you boil the eggs, you can get the whites so they're cooked and you can keep the yolks runny. And then the egg is contained in a shell, so it's not making lots of mess. There's not a lot of washing up to do. So I do that a lot. I have about 10 eggs maybe for breakfast. Sometimes I may have 10 eggs again for lunch. I normally do put butter with my eggs because the eggs don't seem to be quite fatty enough for me. And then I'll have some kind of meat, which I have actually reintroduced chicken, but the chicken that I eat is chicken wings or drums or thighs, but mainly wings because they're the fattiest part of the bird. But yeah, just basically whatever I fancy. My favorite meat is lamb. So if I've got lamb, I will eat that breakfast, lunch and dinner, and I'll be very happy. But it depends. Sometimes I manage to get hold of a whole lamb and it gets delivered in 2 boxes and it's fully butchered. There's also, really luckily in the UK, there's this Facebook group and it's called Giving Up the Game. And basically this group is full of hunters. And these guys are paid to protect the crop farms or whatever else it is that they're doing. And they go out and they have to shoot the deer. I managed to get a whole deer for £25, 25 English pounds. And it was butchered and it came delivered to me in boxes and it was amazing. So they're doing things like that, going back to how you said whether it's cheaper, you can make it cheaper if you're clever and you look into things. There's ways around things, and that was very cheap, a whole deer. All of that meat, and it lasted me a few weeks.
Yeah, that's great. And that's great to know that they do that. And it points out the fact that the people that are thinking that are eating a plant-based diet and there's no death, and obviously you've got people that are paid to kill animals that are eating the crops, and not to mention pesticides, and particularly in the U.S. I can't remember the number, but it's something like several billion tons of pesticide or pounds of pesticide or spread across our crops every year, and they kill 4 quadrillion insects and who knows how many mice and other small animals are involved in that. And speaking of that, you said you had some run-ins with some vegans. What has usually been the criticism? Are you like, you're promoting animal cruelty or you're unhealthy? They always look at you through their own lens of perspective. And I see it with myself. I put up a picture of myself, and the people that like me say, hey, you look good. The people that hate me say I look awful. So I don't know. It's just funny. So what have you been running into? What kind of?
So I had an encounter with a vegan before. Vegans tend to want to tell you they're vegan within the first minute of meeting you, which is really quite funny. And I met up with this bunch of people, and there happened to be a vegan there. And straight away she told me she's vegan. I said, oh, okay. Interestingly, I'm quite the opposite. She said, what do you mean? I said, I'm the opposite. I don't actually eat plants for my health. I actually avoid that. And I just make sure I eat a lot of animal products. And she said, okay, so I've been doing this for how long? And I'm really fit and healthy. And she looked very skinny and she didn't look very good. She looked a lot older than she was. And then she asked me, how old do you think I am? So I don't want to answer that. She's like, come on, how old do you think I am? And I guessed around 70. She wouldn't tell me her age, by the way, but she looked 70. And she actually called me the name for a female dog, which was nice. And then she said, okay, I'm going to guess your age. And you could see her trying to add on some years. And she said, I think you're 30. And I was like, actually, I'm nearly 40. She was like, oh, okay, you look good. And that kind of quashed that. But I've had quite a lot of inboxes. I get a lot of attacks on Instagram, especially. And actually, one of my videos really blew up on Facebook. I don't actually check Facebook, which is really bad, but I just find that platform really difficult to use. So I don't really use it. But there's a video on there that became very popular. And actually, that was about crop deaths and how you could be more vegan by being on the carnivore diet. You could eat a cow, and even a small cow would last you for, I think it's something like 242 days of eating just that cow. So that's one death if it's an ethically raised cow. Yeah, so that video became very popular over there. And there's a lot of comments, but I haven't actually seen them. There's a lot of people either love it or they're calling me a murderer, and actually other things that they say, the way they describe artificially inseminating a cow, their R word they use, I won't say it on here because it might flag something. But yeah, so they're not very kind. They actually, a lot of them wish me death and say they hope I get cancer and things. I actually had a nurse messaging me saying, I hope you get cancer, and when you do, if you come to me, I'm not going to help you, that kind of thing. So it's very bizarre because they seem to not like humans. Love the animals, only the animals of their choice, because they pretend that they don't know. There's no death with anything else. None of them animals matter. None of them bugs matter. But only the animals that they think matter actually matter to vegans.
I would say it was shocking, but I've seen it many times before. So, I mean, it's disturbing that a nurse and a healthcare professional would wish ill upon somebody because of that. That just seems a little over the top. But I'm sure it doesn't bother you. Okay, whatever. You can tell you're a pretty strong person. As far as, since you said you were with a group of friends and before everybody was like plant-based smoothies and eat all your vegetables, and now more people are talking about, hey, animal fat is something we need to get. What has been just your personal observation doing this for 5 years? Have you seen just in general, locally, nationally, among your peer groups, a change in perspective? Did you see that happening?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely with a lot of people around me. And actually, now when I go out, and I said at the beginning, I'd go out and I'd say, people would offer me these foods and I'd say, sorry, I'm on the carnivore diet. And they would look dumbfounded, like, what the hell is that? Kind of really confused. Actually, now when I say it, quite often people say, oh yeah, I tried that and I felt the best I have ever in my life. But then I had this treat. And then they think because they've had this treat, it kind of snowballs and they don't actually manage to get themselves back on the diet. And then they just carry on as normal. But I do find that it is more acceptable now. And there's a lot of people that are realizing crop deaths and other things. And I think obviously a lot of that is to do with people that have a big following like yourself, and they're getting the message out there. I do like to educate people as much as I can. I've been on a few big podcasts. One of them is a really big podcast. And actually I got so many inboxes after that podcast to say that they'd been on the carnivore diet because of that section on there. And actually the podcast is about relationships. But the lady that does the podcast, she was so intrigued by my opening line of, I just eat meat and animal products, that she started asking me about it. And there was like a 15-minute segment just devoted to the carnivore diet. So that was really interesting and a really good moment. And she pulled up my Instagram live and all that kind of stuff. So had a lot of people inboxing me weeks or months later to say that they jumped on the diet and they've never felt better and they've changed their mind on things. I've had vegans messaging me saying, because I've had some debates with some big vegan accounts, And when he shared the live, because obviously I debunked his points pretty easily. And when he shared the live, I had some vegans messaging me saying, I actually used to believe all that stuff, but because of the live you did, I decided to reintroduce animal foods and I feel so much better for it. I don't think there is anything that's more rewarding than finding out someone has recovered their health just through a diet and not having to rely on big pharma and all that other stuff. So that is my driver. That is why I don't sit and just be quiet. And because actually there's a lot of people out there now, powerful people that are trying to stop us from eating meat. So I think that makes me be even more louder about it because it's important. I want to be able to eat the diet that I'm eating forever and for as long as it keeps me healthy, should I say. And I want everyone else to have that choice as well. We should all have a choice. I feel like it's a proper human diet. Why deprive us of that? So I feel like the carnivore diet is the thorn in their side. And now that people are realizing actually you can get really healthy with meat, it's going to make them stripping the meat away much harder. Because before, when everyone was brainwashed, and I was at some point as well, used to say, don't eat steak, it rots in your belly and, that kind of stuff. But if you say to someone that thinks meat is killing them or causing cancer, we're taking the meat away, they'd be like, okay. But if someone knows actually it's nourishing their body, it's actually vital, you've got some nutrients in there that we really need, and you will get really strong, really healthy, people aren't going to want that taken away. So I think the carnivore diet is really a massive thorn in the side of these people that are trying to take it away from us.
Absolutely said. I think that's clear. And we're seeing this shift away from the health benefits of a vegan diet more towards this climate protection sort of thing. And again, that's really hard to prove because there's no way to prove it. But with health, you can prove it. So we've got all these people that have done a carnivore diet now that literally are getting extremely healthy. So it's hard to say, unless you're brainwashed and just don't want to look at the reality. It's hard to say all these people are getting healthy, getting off medications, losing weight, feeling the best they have, reversing aging more or less. And maintain that's bad for you. Doesn't make sense. For some people that are bought into the ideology, they continue to deny it, but it's becoming undeniable, and more people are doing that for sure. As far as, I guess you said you make your own cleaning products and all that stuff. I'm interested into some of that stuff. Let me ask about the tallow again, because how do you do that? Is it all done at home? And do you have a
Yes.
special place? Where do you get the tallow from? Do you render it out yourself or?
Yeah, so I get it from a local butcher who has actually all the animals that they process it's actually a farm, straight butchers are from their land, which is nice. I normally get in a big bag and I get them to mince it. So grind it, sorry for the Americans. Because then it's easier to process. And basically there's a method that you use. If you use the wrong method, then you can burn the tallow and you make it smell more. But if you use something called the wet method, then actually it deodorizes the tallow. And what you're left with after, it does take a long time. You have to I go through the processing quite a few times, and you add salt to the water, which draws out the impurities in the tallow. And then each time you get this big tallow cake, what they call it. And it's like a big disc of tallow. And then you scrape the bottom off and you go through the process again, heat it up in the water. And you do that until you're satisfied, until it comes out really nice and white. So it goes from a yellowish color and then it comes to a really nice white color. And then from there, I put it into my mixer and I might mix a batch and spend all day mixing that, because the more you mix it and then you whisk it after that, it becomes very fluffy and very light, and it feels more luxurious when you're using it on your skin. The nice thing is I've had some really good feedback on it. People were telling me, there was one lady that messaged me and was so surprised because she said that she had a wrinkle going from here to here. And after using the tallow, that it actually disappeared, which is quite outstanding. I've had people message me to say they had bad stretch marks on their stomach and that's faded and I can barely see them now. So there's a lot of really good things that happen, and you don't have to have all them toxic chemicals. So I haven't actually got a website at the moment. I just see that flash up on the screen. I'm literally doing it from Instagram at the moment, but I do need to set up a website. So you can find me for all of my things on carnivore.diet. Carnivore.fitness. I'm thinking of my email address. Carnivore.fitness. And then the tallow you can find on tallow.glow. And that's there. And you'll find a video of Shawn telling video.
That's right.
Of Shawn telling people to buy it or be puny forever.
That's right. Yeah, you told me, you had me do that, so I remember that.
Yeah, sorry.
With just more, on the tallow stuff. Obviously, there's creams. I've seen soaps. What other uses around skincare or body products can you get out of tallow?
Yeah. So I've had people are quite adventurous with the tallow. So I have 6 different scents with the tallow. All the balms now are set, and then I have a lip balm, which is a set tallow, and all the others are whipped. I have a body scrub, which has 3 different salts, so that once you use the scrub, and then when the salts are in the water, you have a soak. But you can actually cleanse your skin with tallow as well by applying it and then putting a hot cloth on your face, leave it there for a few minutes, and then you wipe it off after. And that's a really nice way of cleansing your skin. It's really good to get makeup off. It easily gets makeup off. There's so many different benefits. People are telling me that they use it in their children's hair because they prefer not using the toxic products. I'm trying to think of all the different, there's quite a few different ways that people use the tallow. But what I found actually, I'm just back from Sardinia. I went there for a few weeks. I had previously, before changing my diet and before using tallow, and when I used to use an SPF sunscreen, I've never been able to tan as well as I have using tallow. Tallow gave me a really deep, really dark tan, and I didn't even think that color was possible for myself. And then when I had bug bites and things, they were helpful on the bug bites. So I was literally smothering myself every night with all the tallow. I used loads of it up. Luckily, I took some. And actually, whenever I go anywhere now, everyone's always, make sure you bring some tallow. We need some tallow. And so I'm usually there with bags of tallow because everyone just demands it all the time, which is really nice. And I love the fact that it's gone worldwide. So I ship everywhere, got customers all over the world, which is really nice.
Good for you, and I wish you a lot of success with that. I think that's another area. There's a lot of, I'm sure the skincare product industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and people are smearing on petroleum products. But I think obviously first thing is get your nutrition in order, because your skin health is reflective of your overall health, and your diet impacts it significantly. But if you're going to put some kind of thing on there, it seems, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you may know this, but I think putting tallow on the skin goes back thousands and thousands of years. People have been doing that forever. That's what we used until we got smart and made it cheaper or whatever.
I just think all the old ways are always best.
In many cases, yeah. Sometimes there's better. Right? So at least we got air conditioning and heating in the house now. In the old days, we didn't have that stuff. There's some definite advantages to some of the modern stuff, but I think our biology hasn't changed. We're still the same humans we were 10, 20, 50, 100,000 years ago. What has been, I guess, some surprising aspects of the diet? You mentioned stronger in the gym, better weight loss, but some people notice like hair, skin, complexion, dental health, digestion, mood, hormones, cognitive benefits. Any other benefits you've noticed coming from even from keto or whatever diet you're on before?
Yeah, all of the above, what you just named. There were some things so before I changed the diet, I don't know why, but I always had an itchy palm, and I would always have to itch it. And I didn't notice that had stopped until someone mentioned I had an itchy hand. And I was thinking, oh, hang on, my hand doesn't itch at all anymore. So that was a weird one. Basically, keeping my mood stable is the biggest, most helpful benefit, especially as a mother, and being able to just take on. So before, things would stress me out, and now I can literally have everything thrown at me, and I take it in your stride and it's fine. And it's like you can take on a lot more. I was quite reactive to things before, and I'm not like that now. I would have been awful having all these vegans coming at me all the time. If someone had come at me to that extent before I changed my diet, it would be very different. But now I can be cool, calm, collective. I don't need to react. Even when in debates with vegans, I keep my composure. I'm not erratic. So that's really nice. My hair is in very good health. Still, I haven't got too many grays or anything yet, so that's good. Yeah, I've just found a lot of benefits. I found that actually I compared pictures from 10 years ago when I was in my juicing phase, and I look about 10 years older than I do now when I was juicing. So once I'd got past that juicing phase and I'd reintroduced meat, as I said, and I was eating a lot of meat then, but it was on a carb cycle plan. it reversed my aging. So it was only whilst I was doing the detoxing that I really seemed to advance my aging. There's a lot of fruit in there as well, and obviously high in fructose. There's some people do say that a diet high in fructose will age you quite a bit. I just found so many benefits. I seem to be able to sleep less now, and it's not a major issue. I just seem to be much more productive. My mind is clear all the time. Before it was like really foggy and, all the brain fog. There's so many benefits, and I need to just actually write them down so that, because there's some that you don't realize are actually happening until someone mentions that they've cleared that issue up. And then it's, oh yeah, I actually forgot. Like having cleaner teeth, your teeth don't get furry anymore. So many little benefits. Oh, less earwax is definitely a thing.
Yeah, funnily, some people had mentioned that one, and I thought it was interesting. And for some people, one of the functions of earwax, surprisingly, is to keep bugs out of your ears. That's one of the known functions, because you got ears, and if you're out in the wild, bugs crawl in every orifice you got. So it's like it helps to dissuade. I think that's one of the reasons for that. But you're like, why do I have all this damn earwax? But I mean, there's an amount you have, and then there's an excessive amount. A lot of people have excessive earwax, I suppose. That is interesting. And some people will notice like improved sun tolerance, like you're talking about, maybe better capacity to tan and less tendency towards burning. The teeth thing people talk about. One thing I've noticed for me was I used to hiccup, and I never hiccup anymore. It's like a minor thing. It's who cares? But it's interesting that you're not hiccuping anymore. I don't know if you've noticed that.
That's true. Yeah, actually, I haven't hiccuped for a long time. I don't know the last time I hiccuped. Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, it is interesting. And it's like, why do we hiccup? It's like a spasm of the diaphragm. It's an irritation of the diaphragm, and maybe my diaphragm's not being irritated anymore. As far as you've been on this diet for 5 years, have you experimented with more fat, less fat, bringing in because some people like to add in other foods and see if they tolerate them. Have you done any of those things?
So for the first 3 years of the diet, I used to drink fat teas. But what I found, I'm not an advocate of fat teas anymore. My fat teas were because obviously I said I don't drink tea or coffee or anything. So basically it was just boiled water, butter, and collagen blended together, which tastes really good. But what I found is it made me a bit lazy with eating meat. So instead of to hold off the hunger a bit, I might have a fat tea instead. So for the first 3 years, my body composition was very good, but it wasn't as good as it is now once I cut the fat teas out and I changed my diet up. So I was mixing up, instead of having all fatty meats, I was having some chicken and eggs with my fatty meat. And I found that really helpful as well. And literally the weight just started dropping off, which was really nice. I thought I was happy with my figure before. And then obviously that happened in my last year. And now I wouldn't drink anything like that. I think that the problem with having fats and extra calories in your drinks is that they're just so easy to overconsume. They're not really going to make you really full up. And before you know it, you can have so many calories and I don't actually calorie count. And I do, when I have counted calories, I do eat a lot of calories. I eat between 4,000 and 5,000 calories a day. So it is a lot. But changing it, instead of drinking my calories and actually eating and being able to tell when I'm full up and when to stop, made a big difference to me.
That's a lot of calories, 4,000, 5,000 calories. Goodness, that's a heck of a lot. It's more than I'm eating right now, interestingly. I think that's an important point because, like I said, right now I'm in a process of getting a little leaner, and I find that replacing a little bit of the fat with a little bit more protein is helpful. And I still eat plenty of fat. I'm still eating a couple 100 grams of fat a day, but I'm just not as much as I was, say, 3 months ago. And yeah, again, it's very easy to lean down, and I still have very good satiety, and I still get plenty of fat in there. But it's just, I think sometimes we can overdo fat, and particularly if you're right, if you start drinking the stuff, and it can lead to weight loss stalls or even weight gain in many people. And I think in the beginning, it sometimes helps us with some cravings and things like that. But long term, it may be a net negative for some people. You mentioned, because you're exercising quite a bit, do you get concerned about electrolytes, fluids, and things like that? How do you manage that?
I literally just make sure I've got enough salt. So a pre-workout is a salt shot for me. I'll put like a teaspoon of salt in some water. Doesn't taste very nice, but just down in one. And then that's about 20 minutes before working out. There was actually, interestingly, one time I didn't do that before a leg day. And I got in the gym and I started getting cramps in my feet. And I was thinking, oh no, I'm going to have to finish my session. I went up to the counter and I said, does anyone have any salt? And they said no. Then they came back over to me and said, actually, we just found a sachet. And literally, as soon as the salt, it was really crazy and bizarre, and I wouldn't believe it probably if other people were telling me, but this is what happened. The salt literally touched my lip and the cramp stopped. And then I had the sachet and I could carry on, and it was instant relief and it was really good. One thing I haven't mentioned is obviously that I was coaching for Revero for the last 3 years as well. I haven't mentioned that in any of this. And obviously previously, when I was started with Revero, I was obviously the podcast editor for this podcast for 2 years, which was very interesting. And I love to help out with that because obviously you have so many great guests on and things.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, we had 3 or 4 different podcast hosts for initially, and then I did it. So, but thank you for doing that. So let me ask you, because we're getting close to the end of our time here, plans for the future for you and anything we didn't get to chat about.
So plans for the future is, while I feel good, to carry on. I've got some different podcasts to go on. The podcasts, a lot of the ones that I go on are not focused on diet. So it's quite interesting to bring diet into those. And then you're actually speaking to a completely different audience. And the shock factor sometimes can really make people think. So that's interesting. I'm going to carry on with my coaching. So, I coach clients. I have been doing that for quite some time, and I find that really rewarding. I'm going to carry on with my Tallow glow business, and I'm actually going to start making a range. It's been in my plans for a while now, but I'm just starting to order the bits to get it together to actually start doing like a makeup range, lip tints and things like that as well. I want to branch out with different products. I even want to look into making candles and things, because at the moment the most natural kind of candle you can find is soy based. So I want to make a tallow based candle and just keep growing that way and keeping it animal based and in the realms of what I believe is right at this moment.
Yeah, and I think because I follow you on your social media, I think on Instagram, and I've seen you've been on like a relationship podcast or something. And I think it's great because you get on these other, like you said, an audience that's not been exposed to, because, most of us have heard, plenty of podcasts about carnivore diet and nutrition. Many of us came here for that reason, but then you get another audience that's never heard of it. And it sometimes shocks me today when I hear people that have no clue, never heard of a carnivore diet, because it's grown so much, but still a large percentage of the population has still never heard of it. Good for you on that. So how did you decide, or what prompted you to go on these other style of podcasts? How did that evolve?
It was the last minute. A friend said there's this opening for this podcast, and I messaged them, and they said, yeah, come in. So I did that. And what they say is it's the Just Pearly Things podcast. And if you look up on her channel, there's a video on there, and it says, you won't believe how many, and it's blurred out, she eats a day. And no, I think it says actually she eats 10, and then it's blurred out a day. And the comments on that, because I was thinking, I'm going to get bashed so much on that video. And actually, just thousands and thousands of comments of people saying how amazing the carnivore diet is, how it's reversed their autoimmune issues, it's done all these amazing things. So I was like, I actually got backed up. I got backed up in a big way on that video, and with people messaging me and things. And it just feels really good to get those messages, as you would know as well, of people saying my life completely changed because of that podcast, which is really nice. So it starts out when you're on the relationship side of it. She says you have to say your name, your age, your relationship status, and a funny fact about yourself. So obviously with me saying I just eat meat, everyone, oh, hang on, what? What about your cholesterol? There's people that want to find out about that, but I just find it really interesting. And the lady that does that show, we go out, we've been out before and seen her a few times, and she said that she wants to maybe try the diet and be coached on a podcast by me. That would be good. That would be a very good one.
Good for you. Well, awesome. Well, Rachel, we are just about out of time. Thank you much. Remind us again, there's people asking websites, social media handles. Just review that for us if you don't mind.
Now, yeah, I'm across all social media as carnivore.fitness, and then also for the Tallow side of things, tallow.glow. If you go to Carnivore Fitness, you can find Tallow Glow that way as well.
Okay.
And thank you so much for everyone who joined.
Yeah, well, awesome. Thanks for having you here, and keep up the good work. And just a reminder for the folks here, we have another one of these at 1 p.m. Pacific time if anyone wants to join that. So anyway, Rachel, thank you so much. I'm going to go eat me some steak. So you guys have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye now. Y'all take care.